Hey y'all, welcome to another evening with Ladies First Panel. We have a very, very special guest, somebody who y'all have been asking for, and I'm so hyped and so excited for y'all to talk to him. Y'all know where to find us on social media, Ladies First. All of our
Mhm.
handles below, Bondy Blue, Jami ThatsMe, and of course me, Necey Dixon. Jami and Bondy, y'all excited for this guest?
Yes.
Yes. Super excited. Let's go.
Without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on Dr. Francis.
Oh, somehow this is not this don't want to work. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
We
can
can
still
still
hear
hear
Yes.
you.
you.
Can
All
you
right,
hear
that's
us?
good. I can hear you real good. Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
perfect.
All right.
Exciting. Okay, glad to have you on. And so far, we're not having any technical difficulties. So, how
All
are you
right. Glad
doing,
to.
Dr. Francis?
I'm doing fine. It's been all of my days are long days because just working with clients it's just amazing. Everybody's different, so they kind of test me. Test my limits sometimes, but it's okay.
I
I
think we have a
believe it.
question about that. so,
Okay.
so you can save that
We
because,
do.
yeah.
That lines up perfectly. And I'm excited to talk
It
to you
does.
because we all review these shows. So, we kind of tap into our own Dr. Francis, Dr. Bondy, Dr. Jen. We do that too. So, it's exciting to see how you're going to, like, how your thoughts align with the people on this show. But I think we want to start out with some viewer questions. Our viewers were excited to talk to you, and they have a couple questions to ask. So I'll start out with the first one. First
Okay.
question is, what is a piece of advice you have for someone healing their inner child?
Mm.
Wow. Healing their inner child. Well, first off, they have to kind of locate that inner child. Where is it? Because if it's in your thoughts, then you're going to think about it. If it's in your feelings, your emotions over in the right side, then you got to go through it. And the thing about that is, a lot of people find it easier to think things through. I call it thinking through your feelings because it doesn't hurt. You can always change your mind. But in order for you to get in touch with your and heal your inner child, you've got to keep it conscious. You can't heal something that is not conscious. Now, of course, the fact that it's conscious means that the pain is always going to be there. And you need the pain to be there. Now, this is going to sound crazy because if you don't have that pain, what will happen here is that you will forget about it and start focusing on other things. So the inner child, each of us have a different kind of inner child. And I'm thinking maybe, what they're saying, maybe like early traumas, those kinds of things.
Mhm.
And if you have an early
Um,
trauma, like I'm saying, you can't, I think it's pretty much impossible for you to heal something that you're not conscious of. When you put it into your subconscious, you don't have the pain. If you don't have the pain, you have nothing to remind you that you need to heal. So the
mm,
thing about it, you got to get strong as you can, and get kind of a support as you're going through this. You don't want to go through this by yourself. You need help to get yourself through this, but it's important. Don't put it somewhere in your subconscious because it will stay there. And you certainly don't want to use what I call social or emotional anesthesia. We all know that anesthesia does not take pain away. It just stops you from feeling the pain that is ever present. And so your inner child is ever present. So if you take whatever it is you take, and I don't want to go talking about what are some of the emotional anesthesia. I don't want to give people any ideas, although they already know. But once you begin to block this thing, you know, you're not going to deal with it. Why?
Mm.
Because it feels so good to be absent from pain. That's it, but it's there. That's the anesthesia. The absent from pain that is still there.
Mm.
That's good.
that's helpful advice for sure.
For sure. Thank you.
All right.
Mm.
Next viewer question. Um,
I don't think
this
so.
is something that a lot of people talk about, especially when we watch this show, Love and Marriage Huntsville, amongst other things. The next viewer question, they want to know, is there a cure for narcissistic personality disorder?
Listen, is there a cure for narcissistic personality disorder? Well, first off, I think we need to know things like when we say, and I hear this quite a lot. People say, "Oh, such and such is a narcissist." I say, "Well, are they diagnosed as not?" No, I just think so. Well, how'd you know that? Well, I read up a lot on these things. So first off, if you want to cure something, you need to know that it is what it is.
Mm.
You know, you really need to know that's what it is, because I think sometimes what we do is we call it narcissism just because it makes sense to us, and this omnipotence, that people have, and they're never wrong, and they blame other people. Everybody else is wrong. Those are just some of the characteristics of this narcissism, But we also need to know this one thing: is the person a narcissist, or do they act out narcissism? See, when they act out narcissism, it might be a defense for something like borderline, or a very porous kind of an inner self. So they act out this omnipotence, very powerful. They're never wrongs, just so that you don't get to see them the way they experience themselves, as a very poor, fragile person. So we need to know all of these things before we can say, is there a cure for it? Because the cure is not like going, got a headache. So go get your headache pill from, I don't want to call a name, get your headache pill from the doctor or from the pharmacist. It's not like that. Everybody's got a reason why they are narcissists, or they're acting out narcissism. And most people, I think, act out narcissism. For instance, I can say this. A lot of people say that our ex-president is a narcissist. I just don't see that. I see he's a very poor, broken man on the inside. And because he's so broken on the inside, what he does is he acts out his narcissism to distance himself from people, so people don't get close enough to him to see his brokenness. You understand what I'm saying here? So it's a defense. Mm-hmm. It's a defense against the fragile self. And I think we need to know these things before we can say, is there a cure? Because it might not even be there. You might be curing something that don't exist, or trying to cure something that don't exist.
I have to ask you this. We haven't gotten into the show yet, but you just mentioned how our ex-president, is broken and he acts out narcissism. Right. That has been a trigger word, or a word that has followed closely to Martel Holt after seeing everything that's happened throughout the season. Do you think that he's acting out, or what we're seeing is an act because of all of the emotional trauma and everything that's been going on in his life?
I think it's I think parts of it might be there. And the thing about it is this, though: when you confront people, I don't mean confront like, but when you talk to people about these things, okay, because the acting out of narcissism is supposed to kind of put a veil over this stuff, they're not going to admit to that. That's the first thing you need to know. They will not admit to that. So if I say, I think so, and he said, no, I don't think so, then who am I to say he's wrong? Although from a clinical point of view, I might say that. So now I think there is a piece of that. And so now it kind of begs the question of, what's Mel's function in his life? What part of him does he require Mel to be present in his life? For him to achieve. What does he want with her? Because you know how it is. We got people in our lives, and everybody we get in our lives are there for a purpose, a function. I eat because I'm hungry. All right. Now, do I want the food? Yes. Why? Because the function is to stop me from feeling hungry, and I don't want to feel hungry. It's because drinking won't let me feel hungry. Running won't stop me from feeling hungry. Running won't stop me. So with him, there could be a number of things that came from either childhood or former broken relationships, or it could be a number of things why. But I think a lot of people, but I just don't see him as this aggressive kind of a person that I would say yes, although it could be there, because it's kind of a ubiquitous. It's not easily seen. It really is not. But I think that I'm thinking, just for me, just working with him, that there is a brokenness on the inside, and and you know, male who acts out a very strong woman. Now that's other things going on right there too, you know. So, but listen, here's the deal. See, the show becomes a stage where they act out parts of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. And the way they act it out is they might want to project to the world something about them that they are not, because they don't want the world to see them as they are. In other words, it's a piece of clothing like this to cover me up.
Right.
Emotionally, you understand what I'm saying? And so we look at all of these things. We say, well, is he really what he is? You see, and that takes me back again to when I say, listen, the acting out of something has a function. So you ask yourself, what is the function? What do I want to feel that if I don't act this out, I won't get to feel what I want to feel? You see what I'm saying here? And it's important for me to feel that. And so because it's important for me to get this feeling, I will do whatever it takes for me to feel that. Why? Because that feeling is important. Now, swimming won't let me feel that. Running won't let me feel that, but X will let me feel that. So this is why I use X so much. And this is where people develop a dependency. Some people like to call it an addiction. It's really a dependency. Why? Because it works every time. You know, if you break your leg, you know. I remember when I broke my foot, you know, playing basketball with my children. I went to the hospital and they gave me crutches. And it was very painful, so I was on crutches for several weeks. Now, it would be kind of funny if 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you know, I'm still walking on these crutches. And they go, dude, why are you still walking on those crutches, man? Man, it feels so good. It feels so good, man. You know, it really is good. You know, that's something. I said, but, and they say, but does it hurt? No. Well, why'd you? Hey, because it feels good to have these crutches here for my dependency, because it gives me a different picture of my presentation to the world. And I don't need the world to see me as I am. I want them to focus on my broken foot, because that's something I can talk about more than my broken emotions. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Right. A few people.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You did.
What's
So though you did more than answer that question.
For
Right.
sure. For
It was
sure.
great. It was great.
Okay.
So now we'll get more specific into questions on the show.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to ask the first one, and I would like to know, how did you get on Love and Marriage Huntsville?
Well, I'm going to tell you, that's easy. I was sitting in my office one day, just minding my own business. And so I get this phone call, and somebody said to me, well, are you Dr. Francis? I said, yes. It says, well, have you ever heard of Love and Marriage Huntsville? I said, no, sir. I said, it's a reality show. Have you ever heard of the one in Atlanta? You know, Housewives of Atlanta. I guess I can say that. I said, yeah. They said, well, it's like that. I said, oh, okay. Then they said to me, you came highly recommended. I said, oh, for what? They said, well, we need a therapist on this show. I said, listen, I've had enough spam calls for the day. You know, I said, nobody knows me like that. Okay. So you know, they said, no. And, you know, I wanted things like email. I wanted, you know, proof of, I need to see their stamp of whatever it looks like, whoever these Love and Marriage Huntsville. And they kind of went from there, but I was just, I didn't ask for it. I never heard of these people. They heard of me. And that's basically how I got on the show.
How did they hear of you?
I have no idea. I didn't ask. I really didn't ask. Just, you know.
Listen, okay. Thank you.
Everything else must have been right.
Listen.
Right. Everything else. Speaking of everything else, and you feeling like a lot of people did not know you. A lot of people know you now because of the show.
Right.
But could you tell us more about your professional background and how long you've been practicing?
Well, I have a I have a, you know, I have a degree in undergrad degree in sociology, a master's degree in social work and a PhD in psychology, and I've been practicing in the business, not working for me, because in 1999 I was teaching over at Alabama A&M for about 5 years, and then I went to a community clinic, and someone said, you know, man, you could start your own business. I never thought about it. So I said, oh, really? I said, what do I need to do? So they told me. So in 1999, I started my own business. And I've done a number of things, including substance abuse treatment. I've worked for a child protective agency for the, for the state DHR. Done a lot of work with them, and then I started doing things up through drug court, just different things, and then when they kind of came to me, it went in a whole different direction, because before then I was doing marriage and family therapy for about 20 years too, and so it's kind of a mixed bag hodgepodge of things that I've been doing, but for the last 23 years I've been working in my business, and and I take great pride in that. So I've been working in this field at some level for about 43 years.
Oh,
So you're
wow.
extremely credible.
Extremely.
Yeah, I think I know a couple of things.
Okay.
I mean, and I say that because the last time we saw you on our screens, it was the retreat where Tiffany questioned your credentials.
Right.
So
why do
speaking
you
of
think she did?
the, I don't know.
I know.
I'm gonna tell you.
She didn't want
Why
to
you think-
address her issues.
Well, first off, she didn't want to address the issue, so she said, "Listen, if I can get him distracted to start talking about himself, then he won't have time to talk about me."
Oh,
Put him on a
And I
defense.
saw that.
they do this again. They do that a lot.
She
on the
was
show.
a smart girl. She was a
I'm
smart
glad
girl
he
in
caught-
class. So it was a
Yeah.
nice try.
Yeah, it was, but I went there with a focus. And I've been doing this thing now for a while. I've been doing marriage retreats since 2004. So working with couples under those conditions is not. I'm not a neophyte at that. So, and plus, I understand that people will do that sometimes when they want to make me the center of focus. So if she can ask me those things and I get upset, my mind ain't clear. So now I lose focus and I got to fight my way through this thing. So what I do right up front, okay, so here it is. I view through the lens of my business, of my career, I view things or interaction between people as a game. A game, yeah. We play games. And what we do is, instead of saying what we want to say or do what we want to do, we act it out in a way that does not make us look bad, and we get to the end result. So that's what it is. We play games with people. And when their games are uncovered, they play a game of not playing a game. Oh, no, that's not what I was really saying. Oh, no. Oh, no, you misunderstood me. Game.
Yep.
Yeah. So and I think that's what she wanted to do. But of course, I unmasked that really quickly, because I expect people, but because I see human interaction as some level of game. And these are not, because I say game, this doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's a way of communicating without having to communicate certain things about yourself. So so this is what's called a mask. They say that your mask. It's like if I'm in the store, I'm in the store here, these, you know, and I get in the store, you know, I have my mask on, and somebody would say, "Hello, Dr. Francis." I said, "Well, you know me?" "Oh yeah, I know you from the show." Well, or the other one is, you know, I'm in an airport on an island somewhere. It's in the DR, and somebody said, "Oh, I know you," and then the people said, "Well, I know your voice," and you know, so people kind of just lock into those things, you know. So it's a game. Life is a game, and it helps you to speak and say or act out whatever you want to say. And if you are discovered, then you don't have to walk away from that with your face in your hands, you know, because you really didn't talk about you. You were talking about you through your game.
So were you surprised at all that they left, since, you know, it all was a game and maybe the mask was being taken off? Were you surprised that they left the retreat?
I wasn't surprised because they came late and they were not basically invested, and they were having difficulty between themselves deciding, you know, what to do, what they're going to talk about. What was this all about? You know, well, we just heard about it and we just kind of show up. Well, you know, you don't just show up somewhere for a weekend. If you're intelligent enough, you're going to try to find out what's going on. And I'm not berating them in any way, but the fact that they left, and the fact that she would get up and take a phone call, you know, was saying to me that the phone call was more important than her being there with her husband to work through things that are relative to the quality of their relationship. But she'd rather have business. So she is saying, masking this piece of her that's fragile, that's about to be uncovered. She takes a break and she said, if I can continue to do business. But she was not supposed to bring business to this retreat. Mm-hmm. It was not like that. You just come and we're going to work through some stuff. So yeah, I was after about, you know, first few minutes, it was on.
Happen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you know.
So I guess that you probably were kind of knowing that Lewis would then say he wouldn't take any of your advice, because Lewis after that was like, well, we can't, you know, take any of Dr. Frank's advice moving forward on the show. And we were wondering how you felt about that. I mean, essentially, you know, you can't make someone take advice. No. But what did you think when he said that?
I think the thing about Lewis was he came for advice. I was not there to give Lewis advice. I was there to help Lewis to work through some things over the weekend. So if he was looking for advice, he would back away from working through, which is what I wanted him to do. This is why his wife needed to be there. This is why they had needed to be there like early so they could get all the preliminaries. So if he's going to call it advice, he can get advice at the barbershop. You know, I don't give advice. I ask people to take a look at who they are, you know, and I walk around with this mirror and I say, can you look inside this thing and tell me who you are? And they'll tell me, well, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, and they tell me all these things about themselves. But you know, it was not about that. And what he did was pretty much the same game that his wife played when she left, because for him to say, I don't have to take advice from Dr. Francis, is to say that I am not credible. And so therefore it gives him an opportunity to say that I don't have to listen to this man. So he's putting that up right up front. So, you know, so the game was, if he can get me to have questioned my belief, then my effectiveness has been diluted. So I go around that and I said, well, no, I'm not giving you advice. Advice is you can get that anywhere.
Like it was a way to break down whatever you were going to say.
Yes, neutralize it and make me look ineffective. Okay.
Yes. Okay, got you.
Yeah. Okay. So my question, we saw on the show how Martel and Melody's marriage kind of broke down after he ended up getting another woman pregnant. Do you believe that a marriage could truly survive after such an incident happens where a man gets, someone else pregnant? Or even if the woman got pregnant by somebody else, do you think the marriage and how?
I'm gonna tell you like that. And I say this to couples, and It's like they get wide-eyed when I tell them this. I tell them, I said, leave your marriage alone. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
I'm wide-eyed.
There is nothing wrong with your marriage. Leave it alone. What people do is they blame their marriage so they don't have to focus on themselves. So here is my world. This is my world here. And this is my wife's world. And when, I was born this way, so we kind of migrate through life, and there is this comfort of this is the way I do my thing. It's why I do my thing, And if I'm not willing to give up parts of myself to accommodate her and her the same, we kept bumping like this. Bumping. And if I bump my hand like this, even though I'm not punching very hard, after a while it's going to hurt, and I want to quit. So therefore, they have to give up parts of themselves to go from this to this. Because this is what the marriage requires. The giving up of parts of yourself, not all of yourself. This is intra to inter, not all of yourself. So when you ask, is it possible for a marriage to function after all of that? The question is, who is this person that's coming into this marriage? Who is this person here? Who is this person? What does this person want out of marriage that they can't find within themselves? So now marriage becomes a function to get you from one place that you are, that you don't like, to another place that you want to be, that you're not. And so therefore, when that happens, the person who wants the marriage to work and really work, they will do almost anything to make the marriage work, but then sometimes at peril to their own selves, because they're really enslaving themselves, like right here, to this other person who may or may not care. So now the person acts out like, well, I love you, I care for you, but you have to allow me to do all these things. So when I say, listen, leave your marriage alone, ain't nothing wrong with it, what I'm really saying is we really need to focus on the quality of the interpersonal relationship between people. That is the key to all alliances, marriage or otherwise. That is the key. And when we have people who know their strength, and because they know their strength, they are willing to give up some of their strength here without feeling like they've given up themselves.
Mm-hmm.
When you can do this and say, listen, because of who I am. Yes, the other thing too, you got to know who you are. But because of who I am and I can, and I'm willing to do this for us. Mm-hmm. Because listen, this is you, this is me, this is us. Marriage is us. And so there is this interdependency that's going on right here. Now, the degree to which the person is broken and wounded, well, that's another issue now, when there's infidelity or things like that. And then there is a matter of forgiveness. And then there is a matter of, well, I left home because my parents went through this now, and I didn't want to go through it. So I thought I'd find a good person to help me to overcome my home life as a child. And then I could say, well, I've made it. Well, if you can't ride your marriage to making it, if you don't have it here to make it. You got to have it like right here. You got to be able to look in the mirror. I had this woman one time, and she was a cosmetologist, really nice client, and she came in. She'd come in every day, dressed really nice, casual. And then she came in one day with this long flowing dress all the way down to the floor. And man, I looked at her and she said, I knew I'll get you there. She just laughed. She laughed. I laughed. And I said to her, you getting married? She said, no. I said, well, for somebody who don't like to look at themselves, you must have spent about an hour or more in the mirror this morning. And she said, yes. I said, well, how was it? She said, I spent because her makeup she was a cosmetologist, everything, her hair, makeup, everything, lipstick, everything. It was great. She said, I spent about an hour in front of the mirror this morning, but I didn't look at myself. I said, what you mean? She said, I did not look into my eyes. I just said. And so what I'm saying here is the power of the sustenance of marriages or any relationship requires the person to have a strong sense of their own amness, who they are, who am I, so that when losses come around, you are not crippled because you were dependent on the losses, or when you had it before payment loss, to define who you were. Your definition of yourself should not be based on something or somebody from outside of yourself. So when that happens, and you say, well, listen, the marriage is broken. Yeah, you'll hurt. You'll feel pain. You know, you do your grieving, but you won't just fragment. You know, you just won't do that. And so I think people who don't do that, that's when they fragment. You know, they start, you know, looking at hurting other people or hurting themselves. Or here's what they do. It's not the marriage that they want to survive. It's the self they want to survive. So what they do, they go around the corner and grab the first person that will pay them some attention. You understand what I'm saying? What to do? What to so that they can not have to deal with the pain of the loss. So I think marriages can survive that, but there is this thing. You know, you got to know who you are. And you got to go do your grief work. And here is the thing that is absolutely necessary. Have you heard of forgiveness? Forgiveness. Because when two people come together like this, and they come together like this, you know that each of you are a contributing factor to a lot of stuff that's going on, right?
Right.
So to blame one person is not a healthy thought, because then one is perfect and the other is not. You know, so why would you take your perfect self and go marry an imperfect person? See, the question is, so it kind of neutralizes that whole issue of he did or she did. The question is, you know, what do we? How did we?
So when Martel, I got to bring him up again. I'm sorry. So when Martel feels like, when you said the whole we, it's what we did. So when Martel brings up him feeling like he had stepped out, well, not feeling like, Martel stepped out, and he constantly blamed Melody for the reasons for him stepping out and then eventually getting this woman pregnant. Do you agree that Melody had contributed to that for him to step out? Or you think that was turmoil within himself?
Okay, here we go. Melody might have been a contributing factor to him here's what I'm saying, to him making the decision. Once he makes the decision, Melody's out the picture.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying here? Melody might be, you know, maybe Melody was not treating him right or whatever, but Melody is not so powerful that she can make him do something he didn't want to do. All right. And he is not so weak that he could not resist her. So to say, well, it's Melody, is just projecting that stuff and just blaming her for, you know, for his behavior. Why? Because he didn't want to take responsibility for it. Now, if you don't take responsibility for it, you stop growing at the place where you stop taking responsibility for your behavior. And you require, and you always require somebody to be available to you so you can blame them.
Makes sense.
So the question is, while she might have been a contributor to it, okay, the final decision comes down to him. You know, you hear people say, "Oh, you made me mad. You do this. You make me mad." Ain't nobody making nobody mad. You get mad because of something about you. I know y'all didn't want to hear that, right?
No, we did.
Yeah,
No,
we
we
did.
did, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we did.
No, we did. Because
Listen.
now I'm
You
gonna be
know,
over
yeah,
here
listen.
checking myself. Am I really mad, or am I mad at me?
Yeah,
Listen.
exactly. Because if I say, well, my wife made me mad, then I gotta go, man, I must have a powerful wife, and she can do all that to me. And I'm like, nah, she ain't powerful. Like, oh, then you must be pretty weak. No, I ain't weak either. Then, man,
Then which one is it?
Exactly. Take
Exactly.
responsibility for the fact that you messed up. You know,
Yeah.
because you can't tell somebody how to feel.
Yeah.
It's impossible for you to tell a person how to feel. You can tell them, but it means nothing more than you say, "This man, you know, I just said this, and you need to feel bad. You need to feel mad. You need to be upset. That's kind of foolish. Well, and you know what the person's going to do, right? If the person has a resistant personality, this like, nah, man, I ain't going to do that. I'm not going to get mad so you can see me get mad so you can feel that you were right. No, I'm going to give you that. So, games. So
Games.
So, more questions on some of the cast members of the show. So, Tisha and Marcel are so popular. I have to say, because from the beginning, we've been able to see their challenges within their marriage or relationship. What do you think are some of the challenges, the biggest challenges in their relationship?
I think one of the biggest challenges, or probably the biggest challenge in their relationship, is that Tisha has been trying, I think, to find that piece of herself. I think she really does love her husband, but she is looking to find that piece of herself, and sometimes because she wants him to take care of her and to take, and but Marcel, man, he is Marcel, he's a philosopher, He'll try to talk himself out of a whole lot of things, And what that does, he's totally over in his left brain now. He tried to talk himself out. See, he tried that with me a number of times, but he came in and declared that he read all these books, kind of a thing, And so what that does is this: that he's going to develop a cognitive relationship with his wife who wants an emotional relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He wants to develop a cognitive, a thinking, a philosophical relationship with her because that's his strength.
Yep.
His weakness is the emotional side, where where that's her strength, and that's what she wants. And she wants to expose that part, bring that part out of him, but he is so resistant to that. Why? Because that's his weak side. So he'd rather talk and rationalize and do all of these things. And what it's doing is it's making her, it's easy for her to feel empty and unfulfilled because he's not tapping into that part of her. And so, but because she is a woman who believes in herself, she will continue to do and to do and to do. But then where's her replenishment coming from? You can only do so much and give out so much, before you feel that the marriage is empty. And here again, and so if she feels the marriage is empty, then what you need to do is to check the quality of the interpersonal relationship. She's giving in one area, and he wants to receive in another area. So yeah, I think it's not that they're incompatible. It's just that they need to understand where their strengths are and what they really want out of life, and what they want not out of life. So, because of who they are, but what do I want out of life? If I don't have this woman in my life, will I be able to be and experience myself the way I want to experience myself? I need her in my life, but I need her to behave in a particular way so that I don't have to feel threatened. And it's a crazy thing because emotionally women are stronger than men, for the most part anyways.
Yeah.
It's not men's strong point. We like to talk and pontificate and just and then sometimes when a man finds a woman who is both intellectual and emotional at the same time, it becomes somewhat confusing. How you can't talk like that. You talk like that, yeah, and you're soft like this, yeah. I can do both. You know, it kind of gets confusing. You know, why? Because the woman's now out of her prescribed role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we find it easier when we can put people in their role, it's easier. And I'll say this real quick. The reason I'm saying when we can put people in a specific role, it's easier. It's because when my wife asked me to go to the store and get a can of beans, I'm looking at the label. And if I want beans, I can't be looking at corn. So when I look at the beans, the picture on there, I say, that must be true. That must be who they are. That must be what's in there. And so I think we do the same thing with people when we place them in a particular role. When we put a label on them, we expect them to act out the label, because when they don't, we become confused. And that's when we start arguments. Oh, you know. Then we start blaming them. It says, man, you're a very smart person. So what? You're trying to take away my role? So what? You're trying to do this? You know, just things like that. And those are some of the things I'm saying. You know, that's when the quality of the interpersonal relationship requires a marital stage in order to act it out. And so when things on the marital stage not going well, I don't have to worry about my lack of input. I just blame the marriage. And of course, you get into marriage, we get into a lot of you. It's really us.
Right.
It's really we.
Okay.
Wow.
So
Mirror to our faces.
listen, because of that, I want to ask, because we're talking about Tisha and Marcel, when you had them do the rope challenge,
right?
Did you notice? Because me and some other YouTubers were like screaming at the screen, Marcel's putting all of his weight on Tisha. Why isn't anybody saying anything? He thinks he won. So, you know, I wanted to know, if you also noticed that, or what was your perspective of Marcel and Tisha in that exercise?
With Marshall and Tisha, I think what was happening here is this, that I think Marcel was trying in the exercise, in that thing, to show that he wanted to be in control. But the issue here is the more you try to be in control, if you don't have a way of, they did not have a way of working together. They didn't sit down and say, okay, because there was no time factor. It was just do it, and they, so said, how are we going to move? Do I want to lean on her, or is she going to put her arms around me? Or do we want to touch each other? And those were all some of the things that they really needed to work out. And those are all, situations that you find in marriages. It was not just a rope walk. It was a demonstration of, how do I go from me and you to us? And that's why we tied both legs here. So when we tied both inside legs, that was the us legs. Those are the legs that were married. The two outside legs was me and my wife. And because I'm still married to my inside leg, it's a part of me, which is married to my wife, I now had to figure out a way how to let my independent leg over here work along with my dependent leg with my wife here. And if I can't figure that out, then that's when the problem's going to come, because I can't say to myself, I got this, I'm going to do this. No, it won't work. That is the quintessential of me, us working together. Because what happens if they don't do it right, then the ropes start to burn, or it starts to get loose, and things start to get airy. And marriage is like that. So I think the whole idea here of they didn't figure out how to become at one with each other, which means that there are other areas in their lives as depicted by that way where they have not figured out how to be at one without being competitive to each other in the at one moment. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be at one with person and still be competing with the person that you're supposed to be cooperating with. It just won't make sense.
Gotcha.
So I think they were going through some of that, but to say that it was all about, hey, I'm going to find out how you all get along together. I'm going to figure out how you all work things through, work problems through. And that was an amazing thing, because we discovered that there were different ways of doing that, and everybody brought something to the table,
Okay. Have you been watching the past few episodes of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Dr. Francis?
I have not.
Okay.
I have
So
not.
in previous,
People tell me about it.
They tell you about, okay, good. And I mean, the question that I have is regarding Tisha's mom. So you may have seen some of her antics just in general on the show, but I wanted to know your thoughts about how she allows her mom to kind of affect her relationship with her husband and her friends, because now they're kind of considering not having her mom around because she physically tried to come after Melody.
Okay, see, Tisha and her mom, there is a particular relationship in there that we don't see on the show. And so the way she grew up in her home, the presence or absence of mother, but Tisha's need to have her mother present when mother was absent. And so that might have made her feel like she's not very valuable. The presence or absence of her father, and in her life. And so therefore, if her father was absent in her life, maybe she was looking for a present father in her husband to kind of give her a kind of a hold. But then on the other hand, if Tisha developed this kind of a almost like a symbiotic dependency between her and her mother, more so than mother needing Tisha, what mother would try to do is to abort any attempt that she might have at individuating and leaving her, even to the point of it might even impact their marriage. And because she don't want to go after it, but so she go after somebody else. Why? Because we got to act out whatever venom we have on the inside. So her mother, might be at the point where you left me for somebody else. Did that trigger somebody leaving her, or some loss or some abandonment in the past? I don't know. I don't know about that part of them. But I'm just saying, clinically, there might be some relevance to that. And so instead of going after Tisha, because she don't want to damage the relationship with Tisha, but she's got so much stuff on the inside, she'll go after somebody else who is meaningless to her. But she can clear her conscience, clear everything out of here by projecting it or transferring it onto somebody else. But at the same time, well, baby, I was just doing this to protect you. You know how we get along, and those kind of things start coming up in the conversation, but because if she go after her daughter, the relationship is over. She can't afford that. I don't think she can afford that.
I feel like neither one of them can. I feel like Tisha kind of operates like that as well, as far as not wanting to come at her mom because she feels like the relationship is going to be over.
Right.
Abandonment.
Right. And this is why I call it a symbiotic,
Oh, did we lose Dr. Francis? I feel like he probably got a call.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
There we go. We're back.
Okay. It's mutual. And so therefore, the degree to which Tisha grew up being dependent on her mother and the mother being dependent on Tisha, neither one of them want to to wreck that relationship. And they're very clear about that. So they can argue, but they will not touch it. That's a sacred area right there for both of them, because when anything happens, they always have each other. And they might have made that kind of a vow. I don't know. But yeah, it's mutual. Kind of a mutual symbiotic relationship, which then kind of stops her from growing into that independent part of her, which is necessary for her to do what? Get married and stay married.
That makes sense. I said that makes sense to me.
Okay, yeah. I know when the phone ran off, it switched over to this, so I'm good now. Go ahead.
Okay. So my next question is: over the past few months, we've been seeing some negative back and forth between Mel and her ex-husband Martel. So what advice? I know you say you don't give advice, but what ideas do you have on how they can move forward in co-parent? What do you think about the negative stuff online, and what do you see to come with these two?
Well, I think that deep on the inside, and I'm talking about some of the earlier sessions we had. I think deep on the inside, they love each other. Deep on the inside, they love each other. Deep on the inside, they're committed to their children. They both know what it's like to not have both, parents' availability, and they don't want that to go on to, for that to be a part of their children's experience. But again, I think they're fighting with this struggle on the inside of, am I going to be giving in if I take the first step and say, listen, let's work this thing out. Let's talk it out and work it through. And so we get a lot of this negative stuff. Now, if they're thinking that the negative stuff sells ratings, then what they've actually done now is to basically sell their children's future. Forget about ratings. When you have children, and you talk about co-parenting, and the children are saying, listen to this. The children are saying, and this is where I come down on this. We talk about co-parenting. The parents happens to be the other part of the children that lives outside of them. Why? Because it took the egg and the sperm to produce the children. Now, and the egg and sperm came from mother and father. So therefore, the children would not be here if it were not for them. So the children now becomes the other part, or an extension of the mother and father. The father now mother becomes an extension of the children because they gave birth to them and there was more of them left. And so it's important then for them to come to understand, the relevance of being able to work through their differences of opinion, because their difference of opinion in their marriage has nothing to do with the children. Because if it does, then what they did, they put the children directly in the middle of their marriage. And so now they are trying to revolve around that, but the kids are here. And what happened when you put kids in the middle of marriages, and or a separation or divorce, then you get these parents that start playing, I'm not talking about the blame game now, but they start competing with each other by who can outbid, outbuy, outsize, outspend with each other. And the kids, and the kids love that. Daddy do this. Oh, I like to go to daddy. Not because they love daddy more than mom, because daddy is a big time spender. And that's hard on the kids, because then times that the children need to be spending with mother to develop a good relationship, the child is not, because the father is tapping into the pleasure center of their brain by giving them the things that they want. And so the A looks back, and it could be the other way around too. Mother let them do whatever she wants to do, or whatever, I'm just kind of just picking at things like that. So it's not a good thing because the children will lose. Eventually, the kids lose out. So what the children need to see are parents who are able to get along even when they don't live under the same roof. That is an absolute must if the children are going to grow up to on their growth and developmental continuum to have some sense of normalcy. Otherwise, they go out and they begin to look for possible mates or bring other people in their lives to fill the emptiness and the void that they never had, that they wish they had. And so therefore, so that now begins to make a shift in what kind of a person do I want to get married to? A person who can give me some of the stuff that I missed. Well, now you're putting a whole bunch of weight on this other person who did not know anything about your past, for them to retrofit your life. Why? Because you didn't deal with it, or somebody didn't help you to walk you through it. And then listen, you're talking to me like this, or you're behaving like this, and the person goes, "Oh no," but you are. Why? Because it is such an integral part of you that you don't have to think to act that way. But when somebody brings it to your consciousness, now you have to try to walk it back. You understand? And so it's rough then on marriages. So I think those early years of parental unavailability or parental availability, it's very important. So that when parents are having stuff between them, they are still available to their children. Because their children had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
Right.
And so co-parenting, therefore, then co-parenting is not something you do. Co-parenting is who we are to the children. It's not what you do. If it's what you do, what, when, where, how, and all that, then the focus is how can I gain points with this one or whatever it might look like. But if I say co-parenting is who we are, who we are. For what? For the benefit of us. Why us? Because when we co-parent our children and our children grow to be the best people they can, they win, we win, everybody's doing better.
Right.
Correct. Okay. Have you seen the chaotic episode with the big blow up that we recently had on the show?
No.
Well, I'll just explain it very quickly. Miss
There was a
Wanda. Oh, yes. Okay, so
Yeah.
Miss Wanda said some things about the Holt last child not being Martel's. So Mel wanted to confront her because she felt like that was crossing the line, talking about the paternity of their child. So they both showed up to confront her, and she tries to argue her point that, it wasn't about the kids, it was about you. And so then Marcel and Tisha start to argue this point that, she wasn't talking about the child, she was talking about Mel, she was talking about the baby daddy. And so they argue, and Miss Wanda tries to physically attack Mel from behind. And yes, and she was pulled away. And then a fight, well, not really, but a push back and forth between Marcel and Martel. Well, really, Maurice pushed Martel while he was going back and forth with Marcel. So it was kind of like the brothers were doing that gang up thing that they like to do to people. So they were attempting to do that to Martel, and it kind of turned into a melee. The men have since said that they're all good, and then kind of made it as if this was the women's fault, basically.
Yeah.
So
No, I didn't see that. But whoever went after. So you're saying whose mother went after Mel now?
Tisha's mom.
Wanda.
Tisha's mom, Wanda, went after Mel. Now, so I'm trying to figure out now, why would, there's got to be something about her that would make her do that, because the way people function basically is that we're either trying to protect ourselves or to protect somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And when we try to protect somebody else, we're trying to protect our capital that's invested in somebody else. Or another way to look at it is,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes, yes. And another way to look at it is this, when people play these games I talk about, the game is not to win. The game is to make the other person look bad.
Mm. It is. It is. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. No,
Yeah.
because
That's
the
what the
Yes.
whole
Scott
thing,
brothers was going for. Yeah,
the
go ahead,
whole
Bondy.
thing. I
That
was
was a
about
whole
to,
episode.
even like the
Mhm.
way Tisha kept saying that Mel cheated on her husband, like
Mhm.
all of it
Yeah.
was to try to make Mel look bad. And
Exactly.
whenever we say this though, people will always say, well, y'all think that Mel is perfect, like, well, especially me. And I'm like, no, but
No.
how do you not see, these moments?
What's happening?
Like,
Yeah. 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 If they understand that this, if you're going to understand something about game, it's not about winning. It's not football. It's not baseball. It's not basketball. Winning is what it's all about there. Listen, if I can make you look bad in front of everybody, then I got all those people looking at you. Then you got to deal with the way you see yourself in front of all those people. If I win, it's just me. So I'm going to make you look real bad. So now you have to deal with your picture of yourself in front of all of these people. And I think that's probably, even though I didn't see it, I'm thinking that's a part of what was going on. People trying to make other people look bad. Arguing paternity and all this type of stuff. This is what I'm saying. It kind of gets in the way of, in the way of, here is a child. Let's put the child at the center of this. Here's a child. And this child did not raise his hand or her hand to come into the world. They say, hey, I want to come into this world. Two adults did whatever they did. And we know what they did. And this child showed up.
Mhm.
So why are we going to make the paternity of the child the issue? And try to make the child, some illegal entity. That's not what we do, because that's when the child that's when more of that begins to come out as the child gets older. And then this child picture of themselves is so tainted.
Mhm.
And this child can't look at him or herself in the mirror. And what they do is they find people who will accommodate them in some kind of way by not pointing the finger at them, but then it's going to cost them, because now they're going to have to keep doing something or keep following these people here who may be a negative influence on them. So it is so important that all of us tap into this amness. Ask yourself the question, who am I? And when I ask the question, who am I? It's not I'm a sister, I'm a brother, I'm a mother. That's not it. The question is, who you are is the way you experience yourself. It is an experiential question. It is not a what, when, where, why, how question. Because a bunch of people can, we have a whole lot of when people do research, they don't ask me, but the things that they find in the research generalize, I fit some of that. So I can't be a unique I. So the question is, who am I? This one person, like right here. Who is this person that separates me from all other people on the planet? That's what it is. That's why I'm going to say that. That's why you three ladies, all of you are having a different experience of who I am like right now. How do I know that? If I were to ask you in 25 words, no more, no less, I want you to write your experience of me and punctuate it. I will guarantee you, if I said I'll give you $1 million, I'll walk away with my $1 million. You know what? Because in order for you to experience me, you have to experience yourself. And experiencing the self is a unique thing that you can't project onto somebody else. So therefore, you all ain't having the same experience of me. You might use some words that are common among you, but I know you would not be able to 25 words, no more, no less, punctuated the same way. No.
Right.
And so,
No, right.
you know, and so therefore, you know, when we get into those areas of life, and you're talking about the show, you had people on there who was questioning their amness. Who am I? They were questioning that, but instead of getting in front of the mirror, getting to the mirror of their mind, they acted it out to try to make the other person look bad. Core component of game playing: make the other person look bad. That's it.
Okay. So earlier we talked about pretty much staying in your marriage, okay? You know, like holding it together, figuring your stuff out. At what point do you know when to just dissolve the marriage or the relationship altogether? What advice do you have for that? Or
You
how
know,
do you know when you're having your meetings with your couples? When do you know that okay, y'all need to go and separate?
you know, a lot of times they come in already emotionally separated, and they just want me to put a rubber stamp on it, so they can say the therapist said. And when they get to that place, they've been at that place for a long time. So it makes it difficult for a therapist, you know, or for me, let me talk about me, you know, may not be as good as the others, but so it makes it difficult for me to kind of get them to this place where they are willing to see themselves as they are. And when they say, well, listen, it's time for me to go, and they say, well, it's been going this way now for a long time. And, you know, if it's been going that way for a long time and you're in pain for a long time, then the question that I ask them is, what have you tried to do? What have you done? And some of the responses, well, I did this, but she didn't. I did this, but he didn't. Mm-hmm. So now we're hanging the viability of the marriage on one person, you know, trying to say. So it's kind of hard. And the reason, I might have to go get my power cord, my phone.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. If you get, you know, so it's kind of hard because every different couple is at a different place. And here is the thing. See, a lot of marriages are functional. What can I get out of this? As opposed to what can we get out of this? What are we contributing to this? And I will tell you, there is this blending. You know, when my wife, she likes to make smoothies, and she dump all kinds of things there, fruits, vegetables, all nuts, everything inside there. So she puts this banana in there, right? Mm-hmm. And she cranks up this thing. Do you know, I can't go in and find the banana in its wholeness like I put it in? But the banana is in there, influencing everything else that's in there, strawberries and apples and whatever's in it. It's in there. All right. And so marriages is not something that there is something wrong with a person. There is something about the mix, the blending, that's the issue, the core of this thing. And when we get people to see this, if I can ever get people to see this, then they begin to work with us. And I will ask them, well, what were you looking for when you came into this marriage? They'll tell me. I said, well, where in you, what part of you couldn't provide all of that? And is it fair for you to want your spouse to provide all of that? How do you know they have that to give to you? What happens if they give it? What do they have left? So I ask them all these crazy questions. Why? Because I want them to come back to the point of it's us. So here's the thing, marriage. And so here it is. At what point? You know how they say breaking news. I got breaking news for you. Mm-hmm. Marriages are never over. Two questions you got to ask yourself. What part of this person am I divorcing or breaking up with? And you say, well, he snores. And they go down through a whole list of all the things they don't like about a person, right? Mm-hmm. We discover that they're trying to escape from that part of the person because it doesn't resonate positively with who they are or who they want to be or how they want to experience their life. So they might say, well, because of these things, I say, well, is there anything good about this person? And they say, well, yeah. I say, can you talk about those things? The moment I say, can you talk about those things, this glint comes on their face, right? Mm-hmm. So I say to them, well, what you going to do now when you can't get that? Look how happy you are. Mm-hmm. So we discovered marriage is, divorce is never final. It's never over. What happens is you divorce the part of the person that you don't like or don't fit well with you. So now when you're saying, well, how do we know when? Well, we don't know. They know the part of the marriage that they enjoy. They don't want to divorce that. I've had people say, well, if he or she could only, and that's the part that they want to keep. Mm. But they need to understand that if marriage is not about having fun, there is a cost, emotional cost to marriage. That's the biggest cost there is, the emotional cost to marriage. And I will tell you this. I'll tell you this, that marriage is the largest big ticket item you will ever own because you never stop paying for it. Spiritually, emotionally, physically, socially, you never stop. You know why? Because you cannot erase that stuff from this. So you never stop paying for your marriage. Mm. Never.
That sounds depressing.
It sounds like what Marcel was saying when he said that the way he explained marriage when they were on the Vegas trip, it reminded me of that. But now that we have your input, we got 2 more questions for you. I want to know, how has the show impacted your
Listen. Can I go get my can you just hold up?
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
Let me go get my
watching this interview, y'all be sure to do us a favor, and if y'all are liking all the gems that Dr. Francis is dropping, like the video.
All right, I'm good now.
All right, we are back.
Question.
Okay, so my question is, how has the show impacted your practice? I know when we first talked about the interview, you said you get 50 calls on a Monday after the show or a Sunday after the show has ended. So how has it impacted?
There were some shows I would get between phone calls, texts, and emails. I've had as many as 75. And right now, I have not. I have this outgoing message on my phone saying that I'm, because of the size of my caseload, I'm currently not taking any new clients, and that's been there now since the end of August. I did that earlier on this year because clients are complaining that when I'm booked out like 3-4 weeks in advance, they can't get the kind of sequence that they need or frequency that they need, and so it's and they get upset. And one client said, I just have to go maybe I'll tell you what, they may not be as good as you, but I got to go somewhere else where I can get a frequency that I need. And I understand that. But the answer is, it has just taken my caseload, my client load, to places I've never been. I've had clients from England who called me. I had a couple of clients from Africa. I've had one from Dubai. I get calls from
Marcel referred to the ones from Africa.
I've had no, the one from Dubai was a real client, and so I've had that, and then here recently after the marriage retreat, a whole bunch of couples want marriage retreats now. A lot of people want marriage retreats. They think that the concentrated, and it does work, because the concentrated environment that they're in, along with other couples, and one of the good things about marriage retreat is that because it's just me and my wife, we don't. These are not presentations. You saw how we did that, right? These are people. These are experiential stuff that they're going through, and a lot of the things that they learn. And we learned is the interaction that we encourage between clients as we're sitting in this large room, depending on how many people. And we typically don't take more than 20, 25 couples, because after that, we really don't get to all the couples, So we keep it small. And but there's that. But yeah, currently I'm not taking clients. And I told the outgoing message stated that I'll take a look at it again the first week in November, and I will see what my caseload is like, because I really do want to be present for clients once they're going through. It's like I don't want therapy to be like when I was cutting my grass and the mower ran over this mound. It was all ants, and you kind of rake it up, and then they're just running everywhere. I don't want that. I don't want people to be bleeding and carrying on and not having some respite from that. So for me, it's not about being big. It's not about being any of those things. It's just about being available to people. And I got a lot of people, a whole lot of people. Some people would say, listen, a lot of people say, I'm willing to wait. Now, the truth is, I don't know where I'm going to fit them, because I only got 2 more weeks, and my caseload did not diminish. So I don't know where I'm going to fit these people. So they're going to be upset. Well, you told me to call back. I said, well,
I mean, you're only one person.
Yes.
Right.
So what other services do you offer, and how can the public get in touch with you?
One of the other services, I try to what I do is public speaking. Okay. Right now, I do have some engagements in that I have, and I try not to be so versatile that I'm trying to do a whole lot of things. It's not about making millions of dollars. For me, it's about helping people. You understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
I've never had an interest in, making, just millions of bucks. But I do tell you, though, I've had people tell me that, man, you ought to have your own show. And I said, well,
I mean, I definitely think, Dr. Francis, show with, some couples that don't mind coming on to a show, and being seen. I
that would
definitely
be
think
amazing.
at Saturday nights on, somebody need to make it happen, because I would watch it.
Yeah, and it would be like that. Some of the activities that we do at marriage retreats, we could do some of that on, right there, because see, listen, it would go like that. See, so you said that, really? You said that? So, okay. Oh, well, come on. I say, and you start talking right there, right? Nothing planned,
Mm-hmm.
nothing planned, but there's a way to get them up there.
Mhm.
There is a way. And if they won't come to me, I go right up and sit down beside them in the audience and say, okay, let's talk this thing through.
Yeah.
It's
You
just
could do
they're
your own
just
spin on family or
yeah,
fiance.
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
was thinking that
what's that?
Doing
that
your
TV
own spin
there.
on family or fiance. The show that
Oh, okay.
comes on the OWN network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Why? Because I do a lot of premarital,
Mm.
a lot of premarital, and that gets to be, you know, it gets to I kind of take them somewhere because it's not because a lot of times people think that well it's all about the love and ice cream on Saturday night, something like that, and then they discover that that it's more than that. It's
Mhm.
because the person that you've been dating, for 3, 4, 5, 6 months or whatever it is, you, you know, you know something about them, but you don't know who they are. And you would be amazed, maybe you wouldn't be amazed, of people who date for 10, 12, 15 years, get married, and they're divorcing too.
That's for sure. I've seen a
I've
lot of
heard
that.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the emotional dynamics is different.
It is.
And the cost of staying in a marriage is different. Staying with somebody, just being with somebody, there is this flexibility of just moving in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of so you're very kind of a careful how you kind of deal with each other, right? But once you put that thing on the ring on the finger and stuff like that, like, well, so you're in it, and then things and people's behavior just start to reshape, and you see something else, and then you discover stuff about yourself that you really didn't know. So yeah, I get a lot of those, and it's I'm enjoying it. If something else come out of it, I'm good. Um, I'm planning to have some retreats. Uh, I'm looking at location retreats so
Mm-hmm.
that have them in different cities,
Mm-hmm.
and then just get people, blasted out there. Say there's going to be a retreat in July. It's going to be here. In August, it's going to be over here. In November, it's going to be in this city here. So people can
Mm-hmm.
basically plan and say which one they want to go to, which I think is really good.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
Mhm.
for sure.
That's
Yeah.
cool. So, do you have a website with that retreat information where people can go?
You know what? I'm trying to work on that right. I do have a website. It's
Okay.
drkidspeaks.com. drkidspeaks.com. But that's not on there yet. I'm going to get with the web builder and say, listen, I need to put some stuff up here. And I wasn't going to do it, but because of the response that I've been getting,
Mm-hmm.
since the marriage retreat, you know, like I'm going up into y'all know where the Poconos is? Way up New York, way up there somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna go up there and do, and do one, for some people, and I will have people who say to me, "Listen, we'll fly to you just to have a weekend with you." So I'm very humbled at the fact that the way I do my work, it's reaching a lot of people in the way that they want to be reached. And so I'm very happy. And that's the other reason why I don't want to make it large, because then I miss that kind of a small intimacy that is required for them to come to know who they are and not trying to figure out who the other person is. So all of that
Mm,
stuff comes out in our retreat. So I just enjoy that. I really do.
that's
I really do.
amazing.
So yeah. So the website, it's going to be on the website pretty soon. Dr. Kid Speaks.
Okay.
So
Well, Dr. Francis, we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate who you are on the show. You're a lot of people's favorite, I have to say.
Yes.
So
For
thank you
sure.
for joining us tonight on Ladies First Panel. I hope you keep in touch.
Yes.
I will. And I listen. I thank you for having me on here. I'm just hoping I wasn't crazy, so that you say, listen, we just need to erase this and go.
No, no, it
It's
was
we're
great.
gonna
No.
post it. It's going up.
Yes.
It's going up, and I'll send
Yeah.
you the link too.
Okay, okay.
All
And
right.
again, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Thank
and I hope you
you.
continue to do the good work that you're doing. Okay, and I want to continue doing the good work that I'm doing. All right,
All
Absolutely.
right.
Thank
all
you
right,
so
Okay.
all right,
much.
all right.
Have a
And
great
if
evening.
you have some spare time way down the road, just call me and say, hey, you want to come back, and I'll be back.
All right.
All
Awesome.
That's
right.
good to hear.
That's
Thank you,
good to
Dr.
hear. We like to hear
Francis.
that.
All right, then.
All
Y'all be
right.
good.
All
You hear?
right.
You too.
Okay.
All
All
right.
All
right.
right.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
All right. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode of Ooh Ladies First Panel, our exclusive interview with Dr. Francis of Love and Marriage Huntsville. As always, y'all know where to find us. Ooh Ladies First on Instagram and Twitter, Bondy at Bondy Blue, Jami ThatsMe, and of course you can follow me at Necey Dixon. With that being said, we hope y'all have a good night.